Hi everyone, welcome back to the Movie Reviewers 100. My name is Scott. I do the Thursday videos on this collaboration channel, which you can find on YouTube and on Facebook. If you haven't visited our Facebook like page, please do so. The link is in the description below. You can comment on our videos, offer suggestions for new themes. We do a different theme each week, an actor, actress, director, genre, what have you. And since Robin Williams passed away very recently, we're doing a tribute week to him. I, of course, was fond of his show, Mork and Mindy, when I was a little kid. And growing older, I saw movies of his that I really enjoyed, like Dead Poets Society and Toys, and you know, a few others here and there. I wasn't like the biggest fan of his movies. He made a lot of really silly, stupid stuff that I wasn't that big a fan of. Particularly Patch Adams. I probably will never get around to seeing Patch Adams just because I've read so many terrible things about it. I know that a lot of people really like it. They say, oh, it's about the human spirit, it's about positive thinking and the power of laughter, and that doesn't mean that it's a good movie. From what I've read, it would probably be an excruciating experience, at least for me. So yeah, not all of his movies. Of course, he's made some more serious, darker films, of course. Good Will Hunting, 1 Hour Photo, both of which were reviewed earlier this week. And The Night Listener is a movie that I haven't seen yet, but I'm interested in. Insomnia, of course. He played the killer in Insomnia for Christopher Nolan. That was quite a good movie, and he was really good in it. The movie that I want to talk about is Bicentennial Man, which isn't one of his most well-liked movies. It was directed by Chris Columbus, who did 2 Home Alone movies and 2 Harry Potter movies, as well as comedies like 9 Months with Hugh Grant, and of course Mrs. Doubtfire, which is one of Robin Williams' most memorable parts, the one that he's one of those that he's most often associated with. I was a little pissed when I saw that movie because he was changing his makeup in and out of his prosthetic makeup to make him look like an old woman much too rapidly to be believable. I know that it takes hours to put that stuff on, and so he can't just walk into a bathroom and then walk out 5 seconds later. It just doesn't work at all. Anyway, Chris Columbus also directed, as I said, Bicentennial Man, which is adapted from a novel that was co-written by Isaac Asimov called Positronic Man. Isaac Asimov wrote I, Robot and Fantastic Voyage, and those, of course, have been made into films as well. Bicentennial Man starts in what was then the future, actually the year 2005, which they mentioned late in the movie. Let's see, his character's name is, oh, I just knew this a moment ago. Come on, what's his name? And Andrew? Right, it's Andrew Martin, right. He takes the last name Martin because the family that he lives with is named Martin. The father is played by Sam Neill. The mother is Margaret Colin, who played Harrison Ford's wife in The Devil's Own. And they have 2 daughters. And as the movie begins, this robot arrives, this serving droid that does maintenance and cooks and cleans and things like that. And that, of course, is the character played by Robin Williams. And they give him the name of Andrew because it sounds a little like Android. And so he's working for them, and he grows very close to their youngest daughter. He learns about making clocks, he learns craft, he learns about music. And meanwhile, Sam Neill's going, this is very interesting. Normally you don't see a server robot do this kind of stuff. He's developing a personality, he's developed interests and curiosities and things like that. That's kind of unusual. And the head of the company, when he talks about that, it's like, oh well, this is all very interesting. Why don't we take him in for some maintenance? We'll take apart his head, see what's wrong with it. And Sam Neill's like, no, you're not going to do that. I'd like to encourage this, this individual, artificial though he may be, to develop himself as a person as far as he's able to. And it kind of reminded me of this episode of Star Trek The Next Generation called The Measure of a Man, in which there's a manufacturer, the manufacturer of Data wants to take him apart and study him, and so there's some sort of legal proceeding which Picard has to argue over the fact that Data may be artificial, but he's still a person with free will and a mind of his own, everything like that, and he should be treated as such. And so Sam Neill, the father of in the family, the patriarch of the family, encourages this. And so over the course, as the family members grew up, especially the kids that grew up to be young adults, the robot is still working for them, and eventually they decide that since he's so good at making clocks and he's become a very good craftsman, that he ought to make money from doing that. And since he's a robot, he's able to work ceaselessly on these clocks day and night. And so he ends up making quite a lot of money. He ends up making more than the CEO of the company that built him. Eventually he says to Sam Neill, you know, I'd really like to try living on my own. I mean, I you know, really appreciate, you know, everything that you've done to help me and support me, and I really care about your family a lot, and I would love to keep working for you, but I would like the choice to either stay and work here or to go off and live my life, you know, as I please. And Sam Neill, for some reason, is kind of angry about this. He feels it's kind of a betrayal, but he lets him go anyway. And so with the money that Andrew has made, Andrew the robot, he builds a house on the beach, and he begins to gather information about other droids like him and look all over the world for other robots that may have developed the same kind of personality as him. But he doesn't find any. Eventually he finds a technician, played by Oliver Platt, a scientist who's an inventor, who says to him, hey, you know, I'm developing like these artificial skin and maybe these artificial hands and feet with toes and everything like that. Maybe you'd like to replace some of your parts to make you look more human, seeing as how you're living more as a person and as a server droid and what have you. So he's like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So they make a head that, of course, looks very much like Robin Williams, and they replace the plates around his face with this human-like skin. And meanwhile, he's still, you know, searching for his identity. And so this goes on for a long period of time. Obviously, any parts that he breaks down that go bad can be replaced or improvised or whatever. So he ends up living much longer than all the other human beings that he knows. He strikes up a relationship with the with Sam Neill's granddaughter, actually. Many years later, he finds that she's a young woman. You know, this is well after the granddaughter, the daughter of the family who they're so close to, passes away. And they, yeah, I think that's right. No, wait a minute. No, it would be Sam Neill's great-granddaughter. That's right, Sam Neill's great-granddaughter. And they begin a relationship. You know, she's like planning to marry this guy, but they become friends, and then she grows very close with him, and he wants to get himself declared a regular person so that he can marry her. And they go before this thing that's called like the World Congress. Apparently, at some point in the future, the entire world will come under one government. It's not the United Nations; they call it the World Congress. So they hear his case, and it's about 200 years after he was first switched on that they are hearing this. So that's why it's called Bicentennial Man, because he lives for like about 200 years total. And there's lots of changes. There's futuristic cars and devices and things like that, but mostly it stays pretty focused on him. There's some sappiness in this movie. It's not a perfect movie. There's a weepy kind of score that sounds like one of Alan Silvestri's scores for Castaway or Contact, maybe. And there's also some, you know, silly humor, you know, fart jokes, things like that, just to sort of undercut that. But overall, I was really curious about seeing this movie again. And I wanted to do it this week because, of course, with any movie, basically there's like this sort of limited period of time that you're looking at the main character's life. But in this case, you see the main character's entire life from beginning to end, and it spans a long period of time. And it's this big quest for him to find himself and to gain an identity, and to you know, sort of explore the limits of what he's capable of as a being with free will. And the capacity to make decisions and to determine the course of his life, which is something that none of the other robots that were ever manufactured by anybody could actually do. So yeah, there's my review. Decent movie. Probably not everyone's going to like it, just because it doesn't have an edge to it. It's not very dark. You know, it's a pretty light-spirited movie for the most part. And again, there's plenty of silly humor, and there's some good Robin Williams humor as well, but it's somewhat limited. Mostly it's a very, very sincere type of movie, kind of like Forrest Gump, if Forrest Gump were a robot that lived for 200 years, except that he's smarter than Forrest Gump. At least he's more self-aware. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching. I'm displeased, of course, that Robin Williams isn't alive anymore and won't be, you know, doing more comedy. I've enjoyed a lot of his stuff outside of movies over the years, of course. In particular, he was the first guest on Dennis Miller's talk show, when Dennis Miller had a talk show on HBO in the mid-90s, and he had a great Great appearance on that. You know, one of the best things is they had like a computer monitor that said Dennis Miller Live off to the side of the stage, a big TV monitor, and was stuck in like this slanted piece of metal. So as soon as he gets on stage and Robin Williams runs over the thing and hangs onto the slanted piece of metal, he's like, "This is the cheapest airline I've ever been on. The in-flight movie's on the tail." You know, he just will come up with stuff like that. You know, he would come up with stuff like that just off the top of my head, and everyone, you know, found him really funny. On one occasion, he was involved with this program that aired every year on HBO called Comic Relief, where they were raising money to help homeless people. And he would co-host that with Billy Crystal and Whoopi Goldberg. And there was this one year when he and Billy Crystal were about to introduce Robin Williams. They had a message from Dustin Hoffman just prior to them going on, and so first Robin imitated Rain Man, and then he would do more jokes about Dustin Hoffman, and then they would joke around with Billy Crystal, and they would like mime throwing a football around, and it took them like 7 minutes just to introduce Paul Rodriguez because they were riffing so much. And that's the kind of stuff that I really liked a lot from him. Of course, Dead Poets Society is probably my favorite movie by him. Some very, very inspirational scenes in that movie. Always liked that movie a lot. But I wanted to do Bicentennial Man just because it had been so long since I'd seen it and I was kind of curious about it. Again, thank you very much for watching, and be sure to visit our Facebook page and comment and leave suggestions for new themes if you'd like to. That would be terrific. And we've got another theme starting tomorrow on another actor who passed away very recently. That would be Lauren Bacall, who's part of, you know, old Hollywood, classic Hollywood. So I'm curious to see what kind of movies the guys are going to be focusing on for that one. Thank you again for watching. See you again soon. Bye.